And of course, in the bottom left now, in the red, teamless at the moment, but one of the pillars of the Taiwanese scene. His name is Haas.
And in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of our blue Protoss player, one of the many good Chinese Protosses that are out there at the moment. This is Jieshi. So, 47-minute draw, Bio.
I'm for it. Although I've only had one 47-minute draw over the first day of broadcasting, and I think I need more. So we need a 47-minute draw into a 47-minute draw. Right? That's just how that works. That seems necessary to me.
There are some bizarre scenarios where you can get draws in PvP, but I feel most of the time if there is a draw in PvP, it's all because of cannons, right, early on. So then they are kind of early game draws. I don't think that we are going to see any cannons, even though there are a couple of maps in this map pool where you can say like, oh, cannon rushes are not bad. It just seems that all the high-level guys are so damn good against it, and obviously every map is important. You don't want to throw one away too early. Haas is already building a pilot in the center of the map. It seems that Haas, I think, wants to go for Proxy Gate or even Proxy Robo, while Jieshi is giving me some serious Proxy Stargate vibes.
Yeah, and this is one of the really fun things about Alkaini, a map that I actually haven't seen this happen in a pro game yet, which is crazy because it's just so obvious that with this mineral wall, it's so hard to scout on the bottom side to figure out what your opponent's doing. So it leads itself to proxies like this, but Jieshi finally taking advantage of that. You're right, Proxy Stargate going down and Proxy Robo on the other side. And Roddy, as we look at these two proxies here, Proxy Robo, Proxy Stargate, which one do you like more here?
I will answer that in 30 seconds and see if we have an early shield battery in the main base of Haas or not. Because if he has an early shield battery, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's not all that bad. Now you can just focus on being aggressive. You can have a battery at home, wipe in one if you want to play super safe 2 Stalkers. But if he's only focusing on his aggression and he doesn't get the shield battery up in time, well, then I like the Proxy Stargate a whole lot better, because then Jieshi can just chill. He's not worried about expanding early. He's going to deal damage. We do have the battery going up in the main base of Haas, so that's very good. I hope it's in time. I think it will be in time. Yeah, no, at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that it comes down to execution. We have a full wall off as well on the side of Haas. I mean, we know Haas is a man who likes to make his life easy. Just because you get the battery, by the way, Bio, that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay attention at all, obviously. Make sure that not your entire mineral line gets stuck in a stasis.
Yeah, we had an object lesson of that yesterday where it was Max Pax and Geralt, and Max Pax just stuck his Oracle on top of the shield battery anyways, and it takes, I think, like 5 shots from an Oracle to push through a shield battery, and eventually it runs out of energy. So we saw Max Pax in a similar setup. It was Proxy Stargate versus regular Stargate, and Max Pax killed like 9 probes and just killed Geralt through the shield battery because there just was no response. So, yeah, you know, sometimes that happens, but for now, an Adept will fall here, and, well, we're just waiting to see what he's going to do. Does he got an Observer first. Now there's the Warp Prism on the way, so we're going to have this pressure coming in pretty quickly, but he's actually going to have this opportunity now to really ward off that first round of the Oracle. And that's a great scout for Haas as well. He's going to see what's happening here. He's going to know. He's going to be able to ward this off and still make that aggression. So at this point, Jieshi shouldn't get anything done from this. He's got 2 Stalkers in the main.
Yeah, but double Oracle, though. Double Oracle against 2 Stalkers without Blink. I do think there is absolutely something getting done there, because the Stalkers cannot always be in the right spot. Haas is still going to focus a lot on his aggression. So I think if you move these Oracles well, you can absolutely still get a decent amount of work done, because the Stalkers will not have Blink forever. Of course, there is no Phoenix on the side of Haas either. So I think it's going to be very annoying for Haas, and I feel like he should always lose a couple of probes, and you can already see, well, it's only 3. That's really not that bad. I want to say good defense by Haas, because it could have been a whole lot worse.
And now we get to see what Haas is going to do on the other side. But there's already a shield battery in the main, a second one on the way here. So it's not the easy break that Haas is looking for. And I love this Phoenix here, Roddy, as well. Just warding away the Warp Prism if you can, getting a lift off there, just force multiplication. But Haas, for the moment, he's going to sit on the low ground. He's going to knock down some of this production, make it a little easier for him to wedge his way up that ramp. And it's always going to be a scary thing to do, to go up that ramp there into shield batteries, into maybe a sentry if Jieshi has the gas for it. But now there's the lift, so this Stalker should die, but it actually is not even going to fall here. Haas saves it and gets the Phoenix down. So nice start there from our Taiwanese Protoss. Buying time, knocking down a gateway, and keeping his Stalkers alive.
I have the feeling that Jieshi got a little bit overeager there. There was really no need for him to live that far away. Now Haz is going to try to run into the main base. I don't think that is really the play that you can make. It just takes a little bit too long to pick up all your Stalkers and elevate them. That Immortal is 80% done, but Jieshi is really wishing it'd be here right now. If Haz could warp in like a few more Adepts or a few more Zealots, there's a tiny moment where maybe he could make a dive on that Immortal, but he's been bleeding out a few too many units. And don't forget that these Oracles are still there on the other side of the map. The two Adepts in the back of the main are actually doing some decent damage on the side of Haz. But yeah, you can't be too happy once your opponent has an Immortal. And still those two Oracles. I'm very happy to see that Haz has made one more Stalker at home, as the Oracles are going to go for another drive-by and misclick there by Jieshi. So he actually loses one. Kudos to Haz for getting one more defensive unit.
Yeah, no, that really made the difference. And remember, Oracles were already pretty low from the first dive in, the second dive in, so just a little bit easier there for Haas. And behind this, you talked about how Blink's not going to be there for a while, and my first thought was, well, it's never going to be there, right? This is 3-gate Robo, but he's adding in his own Twilight now. So Charge, Blink, probably Blink, getting ready for that next round of tech here. You know what? In the back of my head, Roddy, I'm like, oh, yeah, but this is Haas. He might go Glaives. He went Glaives.
I think in a weird way, the Glaives is not a bad choice in this bizarre scenario where it's one base against one base. Haz obviously knows that Jieshi has a couple of Adepts, so spamming Zealots is not great. And if he goes Stalkers, his opponent already had an Immortal, will most likely have multiple Immortals by the time that he ever gets his hands on Blink. So I was kind of like, it could be something as very weird as one base Glaive, and now you still get your Haz factor, BO. You wanted Haz to be a little different. Well, we know that Strange likes to go 2-base Glaive, but you don't see the 1-base Glaive very often. Jieshi gonna try to walk down his ramp. I don't think that is ever going to work. Maybe he thought that Haz would not be able to find the button to the sentry, but Haz absolutely got a sentry. So if you want to break out, you're gonna have to do it a little different.
Yeah, it's not really working out right now. Of course, 2 Immortals to 1 is really nice. It means that you have just that incredible fire base, so long as they don't get jumped upon. Now, the question is, Roddy, as we look at this army and we see the number of Adepts that have been warped in by Haas, does that trigger some alarm bells?
Sorry, BO, look at the Stalkers in the bottom side. Oh, they were close, by the way. The Stalkers were hunting for that Prism, and he was very close. If Jieshi would have made one little click to the left, the Stalkers would have actually one-shotted that Prism, and then the game could have been over. But yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this Adept number that Haas is showing on the map, does that trigger alarm bells? Oh, he's going to get it! It's not quite, but a lot of damage, and well, sharking around here, Roddy.
You cannot fly back like that, mate. Oh my god, isn't this crazy? Oh, yeah, okay, he's thinking about it, but Haz is still looking for it. Has picked up 4 Stalkers in the War Prism as well. That is a really sweet move. This Prism is in trouble, and I think you should just recall, my friend. Okay, now he's actually going to bring over the rest of his army. This is a crazy fight that's about to take place, because units are stuck behind mineral walls and rocks everywhere.
Yeah, and I love this move from Jieshi, actually. He understands that he has to make sure that this Robo gets home in some way. The War Prism gets home, so he's going to go deep power the Robo, force things out. We're going to see the Oracle die very quickly here. And these force fields are really good from Jieshi. He's going to lift the Immortal as well, so that's just not firing. And this was a piecemeal fight from Haas. It just doesn't work here. And now, Roddy, it's 3 Immortals to none. Yeah, there are Glaive Adepts, but it's Immortals, it's Stalkers. They don't care about these Adepts.
The hunter became the hunted. Was so busy trying to get on top of that Prism, and I loved a lot of the movement. But kudos to Jieshi for realizing that that was the moment to get some value out of his real army as well. Good job there by Haz picking up that Phoenix, but unfortunately this whole Adept investment hasn't really come into play because he just didn't have that many Adepts with Glaive to start that fight. He does have them now, but I don't think that Adepts are going to make the difference against 3 freaking Immortals on the side of Jieshi. That was a pretty weird 9-minute and 44-second PvP where I think Haz had his moments. Got so close to sniping that Prism, and if he would have been able to get just like 2 more shots off on that War Prism, then there was a good chance that the game would have belonged to him. But well done by Jieshi as well. I think he made 1 or 2 mistakes when he had his defensive Phoenix. You loved that Phoenix, and I loved it too, because that basically takes away the option for Haz to ever shade into adapts and pick him up with the Warp Prism again and fly back, or just get that Warp Prism far forward for high ground vision. But there was no need for that Phoenix to go that far forward, lift a single Stalker away from Shield Battery, and then he even used Shield Battery Overcharge. So that obviously was a little bit of a defensive mistake, but in the end, he got away with it.
Yeah, at the end, you get enough Immortals, you defend, and it works out. And man, you're right, Roddy. Imagine he gets that Warp Prism. Imagine he either kills the 2 Immortals or just maroons them on the wrong side of the map, on the wrong side of the rocks. Suddenly, that fight is a lot more doable for Haas in the middle of the map. Suddenly, things happen differently, and maybe Haas does win that game. But he doesn't. And now that means Jieshi, this player from Dragon Kites Gaming, who has been looking, I think, better and better over kind of 2023 in general. He's up 1-0 on this series. And Roddy, as we move into Hecate for map 2, it's the other Greek map. What are your, outside of it being a nice, pretty purple map, any thoughts on what we're going to see?
Yeah, I feel like they changed the bridges, right? There used to be gaps in the bridges, and they've kind of closed the gaps. That makes me very sad. Pretty sure. Because it used to look a little bit different when we did it either in the TOMC or when we started. Yeah.
You can see that actually on the map preview, where you can see kind of the gaps in the bridge, and it's the gaps are not there, and when we load in the game. So
it would have been so fun if those gaps were actually there, and then the Zerglings run over it and they fall through. All of them just gone. We all needed the Terrans and the Protosses. They need a little bit of help against the Zergies, so would have been a fun way to play StarCraft 2. Zergling run by, half of them gone.
I mean, Roddy, let's be real though. After the recent, are you trying to tell me that after the most recent balance patch, Zerg didn't get gutted?
Oh, now we're on the Zerg gutted train, sure, Bio. If you want to say that they got gutted, I am with you. They got gutted.
I mean, yeah, Terrans though.
Who do you think is going to win the GSL, Bio?
Probably Dark. But anyway, game 2 here. Austin Jieshi.
Who's going to win the Europe Regionals, Bio?
Okay, that's not. Serral's an outlier. Like 90% win rate across every matchup across multiple eras. Who cares? Like, that's not a balanced consideration anymore, Roddy. But in the upper right, maybe with a little bit more balanced considerations in his name, he's Haas.
Maybe Scarlet for the hat trick of Zerg victories.
Nah,
you never know.
That's a strand.
Bottom left side of Hecate, we are looking at the main base of one of the many great Chinese protesters we currently have, taking the 1-0 lead after a pretty odd game, but he knew that they were going to be odd since he's going up against Haas. This is Dragon Kites Gaming Jieshi. There's so many of them, Chinese protesters, and they all gotten really good. I think one truly stands above the rest, and that's Firefly. Like, Firefly is just popping off in almost everything that he plays. But the others, Cyan has obviously been around for a long time. He's good. You got Jieshi, you got SCV, you got... there's a whole bunch of them. Nanami we're going to see soon as well. And then we're still forgetting my good friend. His name?
I mean, Jim actually.
Oh,
yeah, there's Maxed. But Jim actually has, he's been playing in some EPT Cups, and he actually took down, oh man, I was looking at it earlier. He took down a pretty impressive name in a recent Kung Fu Cup.
I know that he took a map of Serral not too long ago.
Was that what it was? Yeah, he took a map off Serral.
Yeah, Jim took one map of Serral, and he wasn't playing under his account Jim. He had a different name. I was like, who the hell is this guy? And people were like, that's Jim. I was like, no way. Yeah, he actually took a map of Serral. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, man, I think back to, I think it was like 2013 or something when you and Nate and Mr. Bitters were running WCS America right out of the Burbank studio, and Jim, the Chinese scene finally gets unlocked, and you're talking to just so excited about this Jim guy and his Phoenix Colossus idea. So it's good to see Jim. I mean, granted, we're not seeing him here in this cup, but we're just seeing him play occasionally, and even cross server taking a map off Serral is not something that, I mean. Serral, I think he has a 94% win rate against Protoss this year. So, even a map is really impressive.
Is a win. Let's be real. You take a map, you basically won the series, and that counts as a victory for our man Jim. We've got 2-gauge Robo versus 2-gauge Robo. Jieshi, however, has built a Robo at home defensively, while Haas has it out on the map. There isn't really someone who this necessarily favors. A lot of people will say, like, oh, that always favors the defender. And, of course, there is some defender's advantage. And, of course, Haas has to worry as we have an adept skirmish. Kind of a weird little adept fight, but nice micro on both sides. Nobody losing anything. Like, there is always defender's advantage. whereas it's easy to stabilize. But if you get contained, it can still be kind of annoying, because then you have to worry about that gateway, that's part of your wall off, and you don't want to lose your gates too early on. And your opponent is also going to have the Warp Prism in your face a lot earlier than you can ever even think of sending a Warp Prism to the other side of the map. So I would say minor advantage Jieshi, but this is not necessarily really bad for Haas.
Yeah, and if we've seen anything about StarCraft, it is this fact that Haas can break things that seem unbreakable and also fail to break things that seem porous. You're never sure exactly what you're gonna get, but for now, we got that first Immortal out from Jieshi right now. He's got a Warp Prism on the way behind. And that's the other thing about this. Haas knows what Jieshi's doing. Jieshi hasn't really seen what Haas is doing. He saw the gateways in the main. That's something. But he doesn't know whether this is a 4-gate and there's a gateway on the map. He doesn't know if this is some sort of proxy robo play. It's yet to be figured out here. So Haas, he saw the thing. He saw the Warp Prism. Oh, he's going to get the Warp Prism right here. Look at this snipe coming out of Haas. Even if he doesn't get it, that's so much damage. That really does mitigate some of the defensive potential, this kind of pick up, move around, the pseudo blink that a Warp Prism gives you. And Jieshi, upon seeing this, right back home. Hi thee home, Jieshi.
And Haas is hunting for the Prism again. Like, Haas's spidey senses have really been tingling. And I think he's moving his stalkers in the right direction. Haas, if you just commit with it, I think you can get it. Oh, that's so sad. That is so sad. He sees it like a second too late. He had them in a perfect spot to actually gun it down. But really good game sense today by Haas, though. Even though he doesn't get rewarded for all of his unit movement, I am impressed by how well he's been moving his units in the dark.
It really has been just on top of things. But again, this is, in a certain light, Roddy, this is almost what we expect out of Haas. He's not going to do it particularly well in the macro game necessarily, but he's going to have this early game pretty down pat. He's going to know what your opponent does, kind of how you expect them to respond to things. Now this Warp Prism on the left side, Jieshi was safe on the right side, and this is a little scarier, but he is doing a really good job of keeping Haas back, of not allowing Haas to properly move on the map, because the moment that happens, hey, 3 Adepts in your mineral line, Haas becomes really upset, and now Jieshi, 2 Immortals here on the map, knocking the rocks down, and Haas mount a defense to this Robo.
And that's going to be kind of hard because you have to worry about the high ground too. It is possible, but it will really just come down to the micro. There are 3 Adepts in the main base, and these Adepts are definitely going to be very problematic to deal with. Seems that Haas was focusing a little bit more on the fight in the center of the map. It didn't really get a whole lot for it. I mean, Jieshi is just playing this out in an excellent manner. You would have expected Haas to be the one that was going to be the aggressor, right? It was going to try to make some magic happen. But instead, it is Jieshi, the man with the in-base robo, who is just making it very difficult for Haas to figure out whether or not he should focus more on defending, protecting his robo, or even think about attacking. And now we're just going to have these weird fights where it's very important that your Immortals shoot at the right targets. But you can't just ignore all the Adepts either. I personally hate these fights, Bio.
Oh, yeah, and that's big as well. The Observer of Haas goes down, so now he can't really see what's up on the high ground there, make those intelligent decisions, and... Okay, no, Immortal's still alive, but Sentry's starting to fall here. And Haas has to be so careful. Now, the one thing I do have to give Haas a lot of credit for, his economy still down. Great force fields as well. He's going to try to trigger this right now. The Immortals of Jieshi, they're just not fighting. There's no Warp Prism to keep them safe. So Haas, with this fire base, he's actually doing so much better into this fight. He's going to snag an Immortal. Roddy, what a fight there from Haas.
Power of the force field, very, very good job by Haas. He realized that even though he was the one bleeding out units before and he had to walk up that ramp, which always is very, very scary, he realized, like, wait a minute, if I can just drop a couple of force fields, it's going to be fine. The first second is going to be ugly, but after that, everything will be okay. Once I can drop a few more units in range of my opponent's units, and I can obviously save the units that are hurt. Jieshi has, however, already made a Stargate, and even as 2 Phoenixes would be amazing here, because you look at his army of Haas, and then you think of Jieshi potentially lifting 1, if not 2 Phoenixes, and then Haas is going to be in all sorts of trouble. And I think this is not a fight that Haas can ever win, because there are so many Adepts in the mix, and these Adepts are going to be absolutely fantastic in soaking up all these Immortal shots.
There, despite Jieshi losing an Immortal of his own, he's still got 3 right here, so Haas desperately microing, but it's all dead. It's not gonna happen. Jieshi, a little bit dicey there in the mid game, off the robo, but otherwise, Jieshi looking really good. He takes the 2-0